Hello again. In this video, we're going to do another activity to create a medicine wheel. And we're going to talk a little bit about what a medicine wheel is. Now, when I told you about the calling in the 4 directions ritual, that was the medicine wheel that you saw on the board, or an example of a medicine wheel. Medicine wheels have been used in many different tribal communities, indigenous people from North America as well as South America, and they're often seen as a large circle. They are sometimes made outdoors out of natural environmental things that you find, such as rocks and stones and sticks, maybe even feathers and things of that nature. So that is certainly a way to actually create a medicine wheel for yourself, is to do something like this out of natural things that you find outside. Now, I decided to show you an example of making one as an art project, but then it's going to be a very usable grid for you to invite in health and healing. And this is how the medicine wheel has been used. And sometimes you'll also see it called the sacred hoop, H-O-O-P, hoop. And that is just another name for it with some of the tribal communities through North America. They've called it that as well. So medicine wheel is a pretty known term, though, throughout the world, actually. So I have created one as an art project. Now, I want to show you some of the materials that I've used. I really love for this project, either if you had like a wood board that you wanted to use, that would be fine. You could even use a heavy duty cardboard from a box that you have left over and paint it, or use a gesso to make it white and then paint on top of it. I have used some of the panels that you've been seeing me use throughout our program. These come in a 3-pack, really inexpensive, and then they're hard. They make a hard surface. And the reason why I like that for this particular project is I want you to have something heavy duty, because we're actually going to use it as a grid when you're done. And I'll explain what that means in a moment. So I have created our medicine wheel. Now, I told you why I chose the turquoise, but I'll just remind you again that the turquoise is often seen as a color for health and healing, total wellness in Native American cultures across North America. And then what I decided to do, now of course you have free reign. I have used some acrylic paints, and you see that I have some of those out here as an example, to represent east, south, west, and north. And I did it with the symbols for air, fire, water, earth, the way I interpret them. Then I put the season next to it. So for me, the tiger lily is a symbol of spring, because tiger lilies are commonly found. And the sunshine is a symbol of summer for me. A fall leaf, even though I live in an area that doesn't have many turning leaves, I often do go to see some falling autumn leaves. And so that has a symbol of change for me. And then a winter snowflake. Again, I don't get snow where I am. However, it's always a symbol that I associate with winter, and it was easy to put on my medicine wheel as a representation of winter. Now, you could also add other things, like you could put east, south, west, north. You could actually write it or put the first letter for it. Maybe you want to do the totems that we talked about, or interpret your own totem for each of these seasons and times. You can also put the part of the self that's identified, like emotional, physical, spiritual, mental. You could also put that on it. So you can make this, again, as simple or as elaborate as you desire it to be. Something I also want you to note is that I did use that same technique that we used in one of our last exercises on making the sacred space, where I used the watercolor crayons after I'd done the acrylic work and let it dry. I chose to use some watercolor crayons, add water to make the background colors for my medicine wheel. And one other piece, or two other pieces I'd like to point out. I boundaried the whole thing in black because black creates a nice, strong boundary. So everything that I put into this space is going to be very intentional. And in the center, I've put the self, and that's also a representation of connecting to the sky above and the earth below. And we've put the heart here, and I chose to represent the heart chakra and the pink as that secondary color for the heart chakra. Now, using this as a grid, let's say I am wanting to connect to some emotional wellness for myself. Now, we're going to recall that we are kind of diving in and going deep into the emotional wellness in the autumn side or the west side. So I'm going to choose a stone out of my collection that I feel goes with that today. Let's see. Then I'm actually going to determine to put in my amazing quartz, rutilated quartz point in the center, inviting in alignment with my whole self. Then I think that what I will invite in for my summertime, my fireside, actually, is a little bit of coolness. So how about a little blue lace agate there? I'm going to bring some serpentine, the green heart chakra, into my spiritual aspect. And, oh, a moonstone. We haven't really talked about that one. A moonstone over here in my spring. Now I've just created a grid. Again, you could add more stones. You could surround the whole medicine wheel with one particular kind, or you could add other elements. You could also use this and invite in different animals that you feel go with each of these. So there's many different ways that you can use the medicine wheel that you just created, as well as it can be a great meditation space to align all parts of yourself with your highest and best good. So take your time making this and then using it as much as you want, maybe even setting up weekly or monthly grids that you are working with.